right, there we go. We are back. Rock Talk brought to you by CNHT, the bloggers at GraniteRock.com. Check us out on iHeart, Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Ustream. I'll get that all out of the way because we want to talk to the governor.
The small version, the large version.
The small version, the large version, yes. So, sorry you got stuck in Concord traffic. You can get used to that.
Hey, it made me feel at home in New York, except the only difference is we didn't have any protesters. I'm used to having protesters in here.
We can arrange
I'm
those
sure
two.
you could set that up for me.
We can make a call. Okay, and I got Kimberly on the line, too. All right, so let's get to it. You are running for president?
There weren't enough candidates.
I figured,
what the heck. No, to be perfectly honest, never in my life have I seen a more dramatic need to change the direction and the nature of our government in Washington. It's not about managing. It's not about tinkering around the edges. It's about fundamentally changing and having sweeping reform. And I know I can do that. New York was in the same position when I ran for governor. I left it a completely different state. Sadly, it's regressed back to where it was before I took office. But I know I can change Washington. I know I can win this race if I get the nomination.
So Washington is pretty screwed up. One of the things, of course, obviously debt is a problem. Part of the debt problem is the bureaucracy problem. We
Absolutely.
have all these czars. We have all. What's your approach to
we
that?
have a government that's totally out of control in Washington. We have to dramatically reduce the size, the cost, the power, the intrusiveness. Just a few things. I would reduce the size of the federal government workforce by at least 15%. And people are going to say, well, how are you going to do that? When I left governor of New York, we had reduced the size of the state workforce by over 15%. I know I can do that. We have to break the stranglehold that the lobbyists and the special interests have on politics in Washington and give government back to the people. One of the things I do to do that is first of all, you serve one day in Congress, House or Senate. There's a lifetime ban on your ever being a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. Today there are over 400 former members of the House and Senate lobbying, peddling influence, representing the interest groups and not the people who sent them to Washington.
We have a few of those here.
Another thing I do is, they pass a law like Obamacare, ram it down our throats, say it's good for the American people, but they exempt themselves. Congress passes a law that applies to the American people. It has got to apply to every single member of Congress and their staffs as well. Reduce the size of the government, take away the special privileges and power of Congress and their staffs, give power back to the states and the people.
Okay, just to let you know, Governor, because I didn't get to it before, we are recording this, and we're also live streaming it out through our listenership through
So
Granite
I should probably
Rock.
try to sit up straighter. Is that what you're telling me?
No,
here, Skip?
just
all right.
sometimes I forget to tell
Just-
people.
Wait. I'll suck in my stomach, sit up straight,
Just be
smile.
comfortable. But
We have
are
surveillance
recording.
laws in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Nothing like warning me after the show's over. That's
You hit upon-
You sure you aren't a liberal here? With a trick like that?
You've hit upon one of my favorite hobby horses, which is the rise of the administrative state.
Absolutely.
Which is the end state of progressivism, otherwise known as just plain socialism. And in your own state, we have the New York Wage Labor Board, which just announced that only for one single industry, the fast food industry, they are now mandating a $15 an hour law,
Utterly
which was pushed by
absurd.
the SEIU, the
I
most
know.
socialist union ever.
Utterly absurd. And it's not for the fast food industry. It's only for fast food industry defined as franchisors with more than 30. So you can have a Dunkin' Donuts in Concord, New Hampshire, next to a Joe's Coffee Shop. And at Dunkin' Donuts, they're making $15. At Joe's, they're making $9. And state workers are making $8. This is stupid. It is typical of the inanity of the liberal policy. And you know what it's all about? And I don't mean to go on a rant here, but
we do it all the time.
What the left does is pass things not so that they're going to improve the lives of the working poor or low-income Americans, but so they can pat themselves on the back and say, look how compassionate I am, look how caring I am. But they don't look at the economic consequences in the real world of what they do. And that's why when I took office in New York, after 20 years of liberal big government, 1 in 11 of every man, woman, and child in the state of New York was on welfare when I took office. Think about that. They had so much compassion for the poor, they created more of them than any other state had. And what we do is we have so little care for the poor that we get them jobs, give them opportunity, allow them to live the American dream so there are fewer of them. That's why we have to win this election. One of many reasons.
One quick question. With this wage board, did that exist when you were governor?
It existed. It didn't do anything like
Could
this. I guarantee you. We could have never conceived of doing something like this.
What
But
purpose
now-
did it originally have, I guess, is the question.
What's that?
What purpose did it originally
You know,
have?
to be honest, when this was going through, my former chief of staff is now my business partner in the private sector, and I go, "What is this about? Where did this go? Was that there?" And I managed. I was a hands-on governor. I didn't even know that existed. To be perfectly honest.
And this is part of the problem. And we're asking everybody
It's
who
part of
comes
the
through
problem.
here. The administrative state has become so large that we're seeing
Absolutely.
at the federal level so many unelectable, unaccountable, and now protected bureaucrats making what used to be congressional law and acting under the aegis of the president. My question to you
Wait,
is...
can I interrupt? Forgive me. It's worse than making what Congress used to do. They're imposing regulations in areas that never impacted people before, that Congress wouldn't do. So it's far beyond what Congress would do. But
So-
forgive me here.
And that goes to my point, because I think that's one of the significant things about this election that is being underreported because of the intrusiveness. You know, it used to be limited government, large and expansive civil
Correct.
society, and then the individuals. And we see progressives have been pushed this further and further. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't see a heck of a lot of Republican pushback on this. And I'll
agree.
say
I agree.
you know, you had the chance to kill off this
and I
board,
did.
and you didn't.
Well, I didn't know. I got rid of a lot of agencies, but Skip, I reduced the size of the workforce by over 25,000 workers, over 15%, while increasing the state police and everything involved in public safety. I reduced the number of agencies and authorities, and I created an office to go through regulations, and we repealed or reformed over 3,000 different regulations. And by the way, those bureaucrats in New York, they could not enact one regulation without going through my budget office. We stopped them.
Okay, how would you handle the federal government? Squeezing down the population
Absolutely.
of federal employees is one thing, but how do you get them out of creating all these new regulations
You don't let
for
them.
us?
You do what I did, and you pass. And I did it by executive order. And by the way, we're going to suspend all Obama. We're going to repeal all Obama's
The Dan Pfeiffer executive
We're going to
one?
get rid of all his executive orders.
And you know what I mean by that?
No, I don't know what you
Oh,
mean by
Dan
that.
Pfeiffer, Obama's political assistant, said, "We basically erased George W. Bush by issuing executive order after executive order after executive order, so nothing he did would ever be there, and replaced it." I'm looking for a presidential candidate that on day one signs that and says all regulations.
Day one.
Okay,
Day one.
there you
Skip,
go. There's
we
a
are
promise.
we are going to eliminate every one of Obama's executive orders. What we are going to do is create a group that's going to take a look and go through his executive orders, and we're going to do three things. I assume a great many of them were just going to be gone. They're repealed. Some of them that are appropriate and can be done through executive authority, we will reenact. Those that are appropriate but should have been enacted by the rule of law through Congress, we will send to Congress and urge them to enact. Period.
Okay.
It's that simple.
Second half of that, though.
Right.
We've seen these massive laws coming through, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 pages. Would you promise to say, I will veto any bill, regardless of what it is, unless it's in a national emergency, and we're looking at Iran, North Korea, China, and all that kind of deal. I will veto any bill larger than 10 pages. And Congress, you had better finally start and stand up and actually say exactly to the tiniest detail, no more, the secretary shall, and make us allow us to do it. You tell us what to do to faithfully execute those laws. Are you willing to diminish the power of the presidency to put Congress back where it should be?
There are 3 or 4 questions. Will I guarantee I'll veto anything longer than 10 pages? No. and I'm going to give you the answer you don't want to hear,
Okay.
because if I want
That's fair.
I want to be the president of the United States, and if it takes 11 pages to do it in an intelligible way that the public can understand, then I'm not going to veto that bill. Will I continue to support executive power being taken from Congress? No. We will give that power back to Congress, but most importantly, we will give power back to the people and the states. And I will have an executive order, as I did as governor, saying that these agencies, these authorities, these czars, to the extent we don't eliminate them, cannot issue regulations without going through our board that will do a cost-benefit analysis and have to sign off on whether or not that is in the public interest and whether or not it's within the authority of the executive branch.
Okay.
That's fair enough, Mayor.
Yes.
So in terms of eliminating agencies, you can strangle them pretty well with executive orders, but the next president could undo that, as has been observed. Ideally, what you want is to encourage Congress to enact a law repealing the very existence of the agency.
That's
because, as Ronald Reagan said, and as the Republicans in Congress are demonstrating this week, the nearest thing to eternal life is a government program. Right. Welcome to The Walking Dead. The Exim Bank is back.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not back yet. And as of June 30th, it's gone.
Yeah, but now they're trying to do an end round where not Harry Reid, but Mitch McConnell had promised a lot of people. There was the Ted Cruz calling out of McConnell as a liar on the floor of the Senate, saying, you promised me and 54 other senators you would not bring this up for a vote, and now look at what you're doing. I mean, and we write and believe from a NHGOP platform perspective, the U.S. Constitution, and especially the New Hampshire Constitution. And I'm tired, and there's a big group of people who are now supporting one of your rivals, Donald Trump, because they are so upset with the Republican Party for saying one thing and then doing another.
I totally understand.
And we go after people who refuse to do that. But how do you get such a bloated administration and a lackluster Congress to say, not only will we stop trying to subvert the black and white of the law, but we will live within the spirit of the law as seen by our founders. And I think that's a lot of our problem, that we've just totally abandoned that.
I completely agree with that. And I can't tell you how every member of Congress is going to conclude in their hearts that they should live by those tenets. But with the right leadership, you can completely change not just the letter of the law, but the culture of government. It takes time. And what you're saying, though, I think is extremely important, because people run saying they're going to do one thing, and then they do if they don't do the exact opposite, they don't do what they say they were going to do. And I'm proud of my record as governor, because I ran saying we were going to have the death penalty and reduce violent crime, and we went from the most dangerous state in America, which people can't believe today, to the fourth safest state in America. I said we were going to replace welfare.
I think New Hampshire's a little bit ahead of you on that.
Just a little. New Hampshire, Iowa, and Utah. Those are the only ones. New York was fourth, although we're going to backslide with the liberals running things now, leftists running things now. But then I said we were going to replace welfare with opportunity and require the able-bodied to work. When I left, we had over 1 million fewer people on welfare than when I took office. No state in America has been transformed like that. And I said we were going to cut taxes. We were going to cut taxes across the board. When I left, we had cut taxes by $143 billion with a B dollars, more than the other 49 states combined, and taken $5 billion in deficits and turned it into $4 billion in surplus. I ran on those three things: tough on crime, replace welfare with opportunity, taxes across the board. I did those in the bluest state with a state legislature, a state assembly that had 103 Democrats and 47 Republicans. I tell you, I'm going to do something in Washington, I will do it.
All right, we're going to take a really short break. We're going to come back and do another 15 minutes if you guys are all set with that. And stay tuned. This is Grog Talk. We'll be right back. All right, the governor cannot stick around. He's got a lunch, or you've got things to do. You're running for president. So we're going to continue this conversation another time, but we wanted to give you a chance to say goodbye, let people know how to get in contact with you.
Yeah, I'll tell you, thanks for fighting the fight. Thanks for having me on. I'm sorry we couldn't get into national security. I went off on a rant about the Iranian deal the other day, and another rant about how our Marines can't wear their uniforms, recruiting. This is not just an insult, it is an embarrassment to our country. They should put on their uniforms and put on their guns at the same time. I wish we could get into security. You can get a hold of me, Alicia.
We know her well.
The website, Twitter feed, GeorgePataki.com, and at Governor Pataki.
All right.
Well, we've got lots more questions. If you can make it,
I've got a lot more answers.
That sounds like a better deal.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Keep fighting the fight. Good to be with you.
All right. Thanks for coming in.
Take care.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, okay. We're not going to run long. Thank you, sir. Have a good afternoon. Enjoy your campaigning. It is New Hampshire. Bye. We are Grog Talk. We are finishing things up, and I'm going to let the music play and the ads run, and we'll see you next week from someplace.
Yeah, baby!